Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to Stacked After Hours. And I know you told me to sit around. And it's a little down and it's around. Well, we teased him a lot, but we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Stacked After Hours.
What an interesting
intro there. But, I mean, we are back. You can't argue against it. You know, we're welcoming you back to listening to this show. I'm excited. I'm excited for this episode because this is the first Ethan and Brandon only episode, you know?
Weird that I never thought we'd get one of these.
Yeah, we hate each other's guts, so, like, we don't really usually want to do just a solo thing, but, you know, when Chris is out being smart and educated and going to class and not skipping class for Stacked, I guess we'll just have
We're being dumb.
Yeah. We're
being dumb online.
We're being dumb online, but getting dumb money from it, because it's the only $1 billion podcast out there. Ha ha ha. Anyways, yeah, we're just gonna shoot the shit for an hour. There's a lot to catch up on, Brandon. I feel like there's a lot to catch up between me and you.
I feel like we haven't seen each other.
I haven't seen you since 80 for Brady, and that felt like years ago.
When was that? Was that like 2 weeks ago?
No, that was like 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure that was 2 years ago.
Because last week was the Super Bowl. Was it? Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago.
And you worked during the Super Bowl.
I did.
You missed out on us playing kickball for the first quarter. We went to the park and played kickball. And I got very high. And I was looking at the TV screen, you know, but I wouldn't say I was watching the Super Bowl, you know.
You were experiencing.
I was there, but I wasn't there, you know.
You were calling the plays. You were calling the shots.
I was pulling the strings. I had my headset on. I was talking to who's
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. That's right. That's Paul Rudd loves him. Paul Rudd's son loves him.
Yeah.
I saw the clip where they thanked him for just existing. I always forget that Paul Rudd's from Kansas.
I feel bad for Kansas City sports fans because they're not from like a big market.
Yeah.
So it's like the Royals are never good. They've only won one World Series in the past 30 years, and the Chiefs luckily have won 2 Super Bowls. So now they're living it. You know, they're living it up.
Well, you know, Kansas City's it had a big weekend that weekend because Brandon, are you watching The Last of Us?
No, but I know.
Okay,
I know.
You know
that Worlds of Fun makes an appearance, which is a Cedar Fair park, which owns Knott's Berry Farm.
It does. That was in episode 4. That's right.
Yeah,
Worlds of Fun was in episode 4.
Like,
but they go to Kansas City the same weekend the Super Bowl was, and Kansas City is fucked up in The Last of Us world.
Yeah,
Brandon.
Corporate synergy, gotta say.
Good
stuff.
As a friend, I need to tell you, you need to start watching The Last of Us. I know you're not a TV guy. You had a quick little phase. I remember when we were living together. You watched Abbott Elementary. You rewatched all Community. You need to get back into TV for Last of Us because it is like one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my life.
It's on my board over there. I have The Boys is on that list. The Bear. Sex Education.
I know. I always told you to watch The Boys. I would say forget it. The Last of Us, number 1. Okay, buddy. It is insane. It is such a good show. It is the best zombie thing I've ever seen. Because it's not
even better than the Romero Dead movies from the 70s.
Better than Romero Dead movies. Better than Return of the Living Dead. Better than Shaun of the Dead. Better than any of that stuff.
Walking Dead.
Better than I've never seen Walking Dead. I don't give a shit about that.
Zombieland.
But they're not even really zombies. I don't even know they act like zombies, but they're not really zombies. But that's what makes it so cool. And it's not really even about them. It's about like how how evil we can become in a post-apocalyptic world, but also the beauty of humanity. And it's like
I feel this is gonna be for HBO what Game of Thrones was to the book world.
Oh yeah.
In that they're gonna come out with season 1. It's
Mhm.
gonna be exactly like the game. They're gonna come out with season 2. It's gonna be pretty much exactly like the game.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna outpace the development for 3.
Yeah,
and
like,
they're
what
gonna
do we do
just
next?
and then they're just gonna run it into the ground like Walking Dead. I'm betting that's what's gonna happen.
I think they'll probably try to split season 1 into multiple seasons because something happens in Walking Dead, not Walking Dead, Jesus, Last of Us 2, at the beginning of Last of Us 2, that I don't think HBO would want to do. But it's like, it's the thing in the game, you know? So I think they want to get their money's worth out of the story of Last of Us 1, you know? Before that one thing happens. Do you know what happens in Last of Us 2? Okay, I
No,
won't
so
tell you.
don't. I don't know the story. All I know is it's like they're zombies, but they're not zombies. They're like creatures.
They're fungus.
That evolve. Yeah,
They're infected by like a fungus, yeah.
and it's like every other zombie thing.
Kind of. But
that doesn't mean I wouldn't be interested.
because you like zombies, right?
Yeah, no, I even like Zombieland Double Tap. I keep forgetting.
We thought that was great.
exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, we thought that was a surprisingly good sequel, and nobody's gonna talk about that movie ever again. You know,
Yeah.
It just came out.
Came out, right? You know,
and when
it was solid. But you can't be like Chris. Here. I feel like we always call out at least one person on these. We always call it the missing person.
The person who's not here.
Chris refuses to watch The Last of Us because he's such a big fan of the game. And that makes no fucking sense to me because everyone who's played the game, my future brother-in-law, Ben, he is a big fan of the game. He loves the show. Everyone who's played the game loves the show. But Chris, like, for some reason, he's so protective because he loves the game so much that he doesn't want the show to ruin that. And I'm trying to tell him, like, you know, I'm trying to tell him, Joey's trying to tell him, Tori's trying to tell him.
Wait, they're watching it?
Yeah, Joey, Tori, and Justin. We watch it together, actually.
Yeah.
And, like, we're trying to tell Chris, like, go watch the show, you know? Watch the show with us. And he's like, I don't know, you know, I love The Last of Us. I don't want to be ruined. It's like, no, it's better.
I think, here's what I think. I think Chris gets this way sometimes, and this is no offense to you, Chris, if you're listening.
Maybe he is, you know, he'll probably listen.
I listen to the episodes that I'm not in.
He'll listen to this one.
Yeah. I was like, Chris, when you tell him, he's like Justin sometimes, and that he doesn't want to do something if you tell him. But also, Chris sometimes will do something as a way of like, he doesn't have time to get to it, and he'll make an excuse as to why he shouldn't want to watch it because he doesn't want another thing on his plate. So that's what I think is happening here.
It's gonna evolve from him saying that, like, you know, like he's too protective of the game, to when it comes out, then he's gonna say he's not gonna have enough time on his plate. Chris, I'm calling you out. You're gonna do that, and I want you to stop it right now. This is a public...
I'm not mad at you, Chris, but I just know that
we can't have this be Children of Men. Okay, we can't. I'm calling you on that too. You've never seen Children of Men. He promised. Now you gotta promise to watch The Last of Us because I guarantee you'll love that show.
I mean, we could sit him down and watch it for a movie night. Have him watch it.
I don't want to watch Children of Men for a movie night.
Exactly. Like, that's not really the vibe.
I want to watch Big Mama's House 2 or something, you know?
The last time we watched serious movies for movie night, like, actually, like, serious, was, like, college.
It's easier when it's in person, I feel. Like, watching a serious movie together, because, like... What do you mean?
Yeah, The Dictator.
Okay, no. Like, it was easier when we were in college and we were serious because we were, like... I feel like we just need
the academic side.
We needed the academic side, you know. We were so into that, you know. And I don't know. I'm always down for serious. You know, we had serious movie nights when we roomed together, you know.
Well, that's because we lived together. We couldn't escape.
That's true. You know.
Yeah.
Couldn't escape it. But yeah, that's my little spiel on The Last of Us. That's been like, I think the thing that I've been like obsessed with the most this past month, you know, the thing that's given me the most joy and pleasure. What about you, Brandon? What have you been watching, dude? What have you been doing? Huh?
I've been rewatching stuff because my girlfriend's been really into like watching new stuff, and for her, and then having me watch her favorite stuff.
Yeah. So
I've been watching a lot of her favorites, and
I can tell. I can always tell. I can always tell when I go into your letterbox. I'm like, okay, that Evelyn picked that movie, because I could never see Brandon in a million years like deciding to watch that movie on a whim.
You know, like Your Place or Mine, or High School Musical 3, or I don't know, Step Up Revolution. None of those are very good movies. I'm sorry.
Oh, but
But
you're
I'm not
you're
sorry.
being a good boyfriend, and you're
Yeah,
you're having your
that's all
sharing
that
that quality
matters.
time. That's all that matters.
But I also get that the even thing of showing her things that she's never seen. Like we just watched When Harry Met Sally,
Oh,
she'd never seen, and she said, "Add that to my favorites." Right after we watched it.
yeah,
I finally got to White Noise.
yeah,
That Noah Baumbach movie. It's my least favorite of his stuff that I've seen, but I still liked it. Like I get the appeal.
yeah.
And I think it is a lot different from what he's been producing, even though it has similar strains of his other work in there.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's crazy that like literally the events of that movie are happening in real life right now.
oh yeah,
It literally like
3
by
or 4
location,
times.
like it takes place in Ohio with a train crash with like toxic chemicals making a big black cloud that literally just happened. And it's happening a lot. I mean, but actually, okay, a little hot take here. Train derailments happen all the time, even with chemicals. So I'm curious why this is like becoming a really big thing right now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because people are like, I don't know. They're intent on.
We're living in a paranoid time because of the Chinese weather balloons that are actually spy balloons. And there's movies about conspiracy, and there's always like the Russian side of things, and that there's this disbelief in big tech and the companies, and it's like it's
AI.
the crumbling of our institutions. It's just the right time movie,
Yeah, it's
Just
crazy.
at the right. But in actuality, I haven't really been watching a ton of stuff. I've been collecting a lot of physical media because I haven't.
Tell the listeners what you've been.
Tell the listeners
your grand splurges of late.
Well, basically, it didn't start until like earlier this month, I think, because I went home and I got a nice sum of cash from my aunt for Christmas, and I said thank you so much. And I said I
Yes,
said
thank you, auntie, thank you very much.
And I said, what do I want to purchase? Because I've got this new shelf that I've acquired and put together that holds like 600 plus cases, and I brought a lot home from my trip to Arizona.
Right.
And I figured this is time to A, fill it up, and B, complete certain collections visually on my shelf.
Right.
So I've finally, after Ethan was purchasing every Marvel movie day one, I kind of held back until he left, until he moved out.
Yeah.
And I bought the rest of the titles that they have. I got a VHS player for my dad. So I got
cool.
his VHSs.
Yeah.
All like 26 of them or something. And very rare DVDs and Blu-rays that I've been trying to find. Like I found Coda on DVD. I got a screener for that.
Where'd you get that?
I'm not telling because I don't want to. But I acquired it, and it's a legit screening. It's legit.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I got Anna and the Apocalypse, which is a very rare find in Region 1.
Shh. Oh, sorry. That was Oliver. Hey, shut up.
He didn't like that.
No, I don't like that movie either. I trained him to bark at Anna and the Apocalypse because it's not a great movie. Hey, shut it. Shh.
And then, I'm just filling in movies that I really like that were on my wish list. And also, my big one was completing all the Best Picture winners, which I recently did. Ethan has one of them, so the shelf isn't technically complete.
I'll give it back on Wednesday. Don't worry.
Yeah, but I want to show him the shelf, and he'll love it, I think.
I can't wait to see it.
It's an amazing shelf, and I really love being able to show off my collection like I'm at a Blockbuster. Like before this, my girlfriend and I were going through every movie, and then we were like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool!" Like the art of the physical media, the coast, like it just looks nice. And then you can look on the back, and not only that, you can actually put in the whole disc and watch special features or like watch the movie, and it's just like, I miss this feeling.
But
you know what I'm saying?
yeah, that's what I love about my collection too. It's just like I love when people come over and like when someone's over, I'm just like, hey, let's watch a movie. Pick from the DVDs and Blu-rays, and it's like
Yeah.
it's way more satisfying than like going through Netflix and stuff. It's great. But I have to say, Brandon, I have some really sad news. This is like one of the biggest thorns in my side for the past few weeks. My PS4 is breaking down, and for some reason it's not playing sound on Blu-rays, and I don't
Wait, what?
I don't know why. Because I watched all the Ant-Man movies before Quantumania, right? And every movie Ant-Man's been in, right? So I pulled out all my Blu-rays, I stacked them up. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get through all these, And I put in the first Ant-Man, and like for some reason it plays sound during the trailers and the main menu, but when I actually go in to play the movie, it's silent.
Have you tried it on any other Blu-ray player?
I don't.
I know you don't have one.
I don't have any.
But like,
no, because I was
hey,
like,
bring it to my house. Bring it to my.
But then I
house.
did it for Captain America: Civil War. Same thing happened. I did it for Ant-Man and the Wasp. Same thing happened. So I don't know what's going on. But then I watched Baraka the other day. That one I have on Blu-ray, and that was fine. So maybe
So it's just the Marvel movies?
Maybe it's just the Marvel movies, and I mean I watched Cimarron and that was fine. But that was a DVD.
That's a DVD. Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know what's going on, but it's making me scared. Maybe now it's time for me to actually get a 4K player.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's good to invest. I mean,
yeah.
You already have like 21. I already have 17.
I have 21 4K Blu-rays. I'm dying to watch Nope on 4K. I really want to see how that looks.
We can watch that on Wednesday.
Because
you
have it on 4K. All right, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
sounds like a plan.
But yeah, I mean, like it's sad, but like it's a necessary upgrade for any cinephile. I think.
Yeah.
But for me, unlike Ethan.
Yeah.
I don't discriminate against DVDs because there are a lot of movies that aren't on a HD format. And B,
okay, wait a minute. Okay, I will buy a DVD if it's only in DVD. Okay, if I am given the choice, if I see a movie that I want on DVD, knowing that there's a Blu-ray of it out there, I won't buy it because I'm like I'd rather just have the Blu-ray. That's the only way I discriminate against DVDs. But if it's like this is the only way, like let's see, what's one that I only have on DVD that I can't get? Stray Dog. Kira Kurosawa's Stray Dog. That's only on DVD. So I was like, all right.
Dougal
might have a Blu-ray. I don't know. Maybe. What else? The Oswald the Lucky Rabbit cartoons. That's only on DVD. The Mystery Science Theater Gamera movies only on DVD. Initial D only on DVD. But yeah, I feel like I like given the choice. Like if I see a DVD, even if the Blu-ray is just like $10 more expensive, I'd go for the Blu-ray.
I did a count of my collection to see how many movies I had on DVD and how many I had on Blu-ray. That I have the cases for. I didn't do the count for the stuff in the binder still.
Right.
I had 449 Blu-rays and 588 DVDs.
Ooh, that's a near even split. That's a near even split.
But here's my thinking, right? I want to get the stuff that I really, really want to see on Blu-ray on Blu-ray. Mostly modern stuff, but if I don't like a movie, I'm not going to invest that extra. Like I'm not going to go back to it.
Yeah.
We were like just talking before the podcast. I don't think this was on the podcast, but we were talking about what Marvel movies I didn't have on Blu-ray.
Oh yeah.
I don't have the Thor movies on Blu-ray, any of them. I don't have Thor 3, Thor 4, Thor 1, Thor 2, none of them. They're all on DVD. And I'm like, I'm fine with that. If I want to just pop it in, doing a marathon of the Thor movies, that's fine with me. I could watch it in standard 480, even if it's upscaled.
Wow.
Even if it's upscaled. But like for the most part, yeah, I agree. I would rather go with Blu-ray or 4K.
Yeah.
And that's where my like favorite movies are, I don't really have, other than like stuff that I've gotten on as a deal, like Sully or Jersey Boys on Blu-ray.
No, not Jersey Boys again.
Or stuff that I've gotten as gifts, like Cavalcade and Baria. Like, I don't really like buy movies blindly that are on Blu-ray or 4K.
Right.
Usually don't try to do that.
I don't either. You know, I still own Hidden Figures on DVD. I haven't seen
But that wasn't your choice.
It was a gift. Yeah, that's true.
It was a gift.
It was a gift.
They said Ethan's gonna like Hidden Figures a lot.
Yeah,
I can imagine that.
I think that's like one of the only movies I haven't seen in my collection. That and like some murder mysteries, part of like this TCM murder mystery DVD collection. I don't know. Anyways,
that's good. That's pretty impressive. Not gonna lie. On my shelf, I don't think there's a lot I haven't seen.
Yeah,
I think Requiem for a Dream. I haven't seen. That's on my shelf. So the Best Picture winners.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Decalogue and Showa, but they're in my Criterion.
I forgot
shelf.
you own those. Yeah.
I forgot I owned them. I don't forget. I'm just like
hesitant. No, I forgot. I forgot you own those.
Oh yeah. So Damn. It's just like it's kind of like, do I want to have the undertaking to do that right now?
Right.
Is the thing. But I'm like, I have the ability to.
You certainly do.
But that brings us to like a sad thing that I noticed recently when I went to go see Ant-Man.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, let's get into this.
So
it's depressing.
I went to go to Ant-Man Friday morning. Honestly, because everybody was like, oh, it's a Saturday, Sunday cartoon sort of vibe. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll get less annoying crowd, because I've kind of become disenchanted, unless it's a big Avengers movie, from seeing Marvel movies opening night. Mainly because it's the biggest fans and they're expecting the cheers, so they're going to cheer, and then I'm going to miss something in regards to the story, and I will get a jaded or ununique perspective of how to view a movie, because I'm just going to be, the experience is going to cloud my judgment, I think.
Right.
So I want to view the movie as solidly as possible. Anyway, I was going to go after to Best Buy to go get Black Panther Wakanda Forever on either 4K or on Blu-ray. And I went into Best Buy after the movie, and I'm looking around, and I walked in every fucking aisle except for the appliances, like for food. And if it was there, I'm sorry.
Did you see any Kasori products? Lavoie?
I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Ooh, contracts.
Negotiation. But I looked everywhere, and they only had a single rack, and it wasn't for Blu-rays, it wasn't for DVDs, it was just for PS4 games and Switch, and it was completely empty regarding except for 2 or 3 titles. And I was just, since when did this happen? Because I've been hearing it happening from the Midwest and stuff like that, but not a store that is by the biggest movie theater in Orange County. I thought out of anywhere that it would be there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's not bad. Let me just go to Target or something, or some other store. Go there. Oh, they have one rack and it's run out, or they have exponentially raised the prices on it, so it's $35 for and I'm like, I'm not paying $20 for a DVD, $30 for a Blu-ray, or $40 for a 4K.
Yeah. Best Buy used to have such cheap Blu-rays. Dude, do you remember those?
They used to have a pile
when they were $5.
$5, yeah.
Oh my god, dude. Okay, so I actually, after you told me that, I bought myself a Magic Bullet from Best Buy in West Hollywood the other day. And they did have a solid Blu-ray section. It wasn't it was an aisle and a half, one tiny aisle, when it was both sides Blu-rays, and then there was 2 standees, But the thing is, they're so expensive.
Yeah,
they
raised the prices.
I don't get it. They should be lowering the prices, because that's what they did when we were in college. Remember, it was paradise. I just remember going to that Best Buy in Tustin, and just there was so many cheap Blu-rays there, and that's honestly, that's what got me to really start my collection, because I'm like, oh shit, Blu-rays are really cheap now, because they're trying to get rid of them. So I'm gonna get on this, and I started doing it, but now they're raising it back up, and now there's even less. I don't get it. That's the opposite of supply and demand,
Well, it's in order to find the stuff that I've been searching for, I've been going to secondhand stores or used stores. I went to Book Off.
Yeah,
which has been a godsend.
That is great for Blu-rays.
Yeah, because I was like, there's a lot of the stuff I already have, but if I can just go through my list and see, oh, there is one here that I really, really want. Or if I go to like a Redbox location, I'm like, okay, I'll just buy the disc for this because I really don't need the case
Right.
for this movie. Then I'll do that. But like, there is a diminishing amount, and I think COVID's having an effect and streaming's having an effect, but I don't know. I think a lot of people actually are going to be kind of upset. But then again, I went to Walmart today.
Yeah.
And they had only DVDs.
That's
except for the newest releases.
so
Which
weird.
Black Panther was out of everything except for the DVD. And the only movie that was on Blu-ray that I wanted, that I got, was The Fabelmans. That was the only one left.
Wow.
And The Woman King, but I didn't get that. So... And I was like, what is this? What's happening? Is physical media actually dying for real this time?
I didn't think about COVID. Silly me. But I do think that was a big thing that happened to it, because maybe that hurt just the manufacturing of it, and that's probably why they made them more expensive. They couldn't drop the prices because it's probably really hard for stores just to buy them because the manufacturers probably raised the price,
It's only like $5 to make a disc and probably another $5 to make a case. So if you
Yeah.
that's $10, and if you're charging $20, that should be fine. I get the surplus idea, right?
Yeah.
If people aren't buying them, what do they do with those? What do you think they do with them?
I don't know.
There's no expiration date on DVDs and Blu-rays.
Do they just throw them out?
Yeah, do they just throw them in the back and go...
Brandon, are we about to become Blu-ray dumpster divers? Are we going to become like these insane psycho people?
Hey, they'll go to the dumpster the Best Buy back at 2 a.m. Then they throw out the Blu-rays there.
I found Sonic the Hedgehog on 4K.
Sonic 2 on 4K. Oh, I gotta...
God damn it. Yeah, that's going to be us. I also got to go... now that I live super close to Amoeba Records, I got to keep going there. Because they got a great... Blu-ray, section there just for movies, any kind of movie. And
the store by Joey and Tori, the one they took us to, not the VHS store that we're going to.
The record store, right?
Yeah, that one. That had an amazing selection,
and those were so cheap.
They were, and it was like half off, like everything.
It was half off. Yeah, so I got like 5 Blu-rays for $20. It was crazy.
Yeah. It was crazy.
And steelbooks even. I got a few steelbooks, like my Scarface steelbook, which is really cool.
The Superman one's kind of a rare one too.
The Red Sun, yeah, the Superman Red Sun.
Yeah,
oh, and I got the Superman the movie on 4K for $5.
That he can't watch.
I can't even watch it on 4K, but maybe someday. Ha! Oh man.
Just come over to my house with your 4Ks and we can watch them.
I think I think I gotta get a player. I don't think I'm gonna get a PS5.
Why not?
Because it's almost like I might as well just wait till the PS6 now. Like,
what if that
seriously,
doesn't come out ever?
You don't think a PlayStation 6 will come out?
No, it'll come out, but will it be just as difficult to get a hold of?
Well, I don't know.
That's what I'm asking you.
The thing is not difficult to get a hold of. I can find a way to get it. Just the thing is, for me, is like, I don't know if a PS5 is worth it, because I can't think of any games I would get for it. Like, what, I can't think of any good games I was like, oh. For PS4, I was like, oh, I gotta get it for, like, for Injustice 2 and, like, Spider-Man and Batman Arkham Knight, But, like, I can't think of any PS5 games that are, like, a must for me,
Yeah,
maybe,
I guess.
Because, like, Sonic Frontiers, got that on Switch, I don't really care. I don't know. And like the Spider-Man games, like there's the new Spider-Man 2.
But they're just backwards compatible with the PS4.
Yeah.
Because they've just made it for it, because they were like, nobody can get their hands on this, so why would we mass produce an item?
Exactly, dude. Exactly.
But
like,
it's just depressing.
I don't know. So maybe
I think the state of...
I mean, your 4K player is $150, right?
Well, I got a good deal on it because
Big Lots, right?
No, what? No, I didn't go to Big Lots.
Oh.
I went to Walmart.
Oh.
But they were doing a deal that if you bought it online or you went into the store at a certain time of day or a certain thing, you would get like a certain amount off. And I did. And it was the cheapest one that I got. Because if you went to Target, the only way to get it cheaper is if you bought it online and picked it up like 2 days later or something,
Mm.
which was like ridiculous to me. So I was like, no, I want it now. I'm gonna go to Walmart now.
Just wait.
It's cheaper. It's cheaper.
All right.
So I got it cheap, and it's a great player. I think now if you're like not a avid movie watcher at home,
Yeah.
then maybe you won't like it
Probably not.
because like if like, or if like even if you're like an avid movie watcher who is like only exclusively watches 4K, it's probably not the best player. But I can't see the discrepancies
Yeah.
that people like films at home on YouTube does or something. They're like the 4K quality. I'm like,
Freaking nerds.
oh, it looks great to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
don't know.
The only difference is the difference between a Blu-ray and a 4K is the coloring and shadows and the
Yeah.
detail. Those are the 3 big details, and you'll notice. And sometimes you're just gonna prefer the Blu-ray,
That's right.
but in a lot of cases, the reality is so cool. And unspecialized ET, that was epic. It wasn't the one with the CGI ET or the guns swapped for walkie-talkies.
Oh yeah. No,
So
the
I was
watch
like,
also-
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
it
great.
was. It's just depressing to see that media is going down this direction. But I don't know.
People are just gonna regret it because, I mean, just look what's happening with HBO Max. They're just taking everything off, even like exclusives for the streaming service. They're taking it off, and now it's just like those pieces of media are gone forever. You know,
Mm-hmm.
which is insane. It's not, that's like criminal. I don't get it.
It is. It's just unfair, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, I really want to watch this," and then it's like, "Oh, well, it's exclusive to this
Yeah.
streaming service." I'm like, "Oh, okay," and they're like, "Well, let's watch this instead." I'm like, "Well, that's exclusive to a different streaming service," and then I'm like, "So you have to subscribe to like 10 streaming services to get all of the movies you
It's just
own."
cable. It's cable all over again.
Or you could just purchase, and you're like, well, in the long run, that's going to cost more money. And I'm like, but in the long run, I'm going to have everything that I want to watch. And I can, if I have friends who also collect, Ethan,
Yeah.
we can exchange movies.
Yeah.
I'm going to get him. I have all of the Best Picture winners on DVD or Blu-ray.
And I'm gonna watch them all this year. Gonna do it.
Yeah, and Ethan's trying to get through the rest of that he hasn't seen, and I have him, and he doesn't have to go through a streaming service.
Exactly.
You know?
And like,
So.
and we'd be just like, if a friend wants to borrow like a movie, you know, it's great.
Yeah.
We can just lend it out to friends, you know.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I really want to watch like this obscure movie or this like really popular movie. I'm like, all right, don't even bother renting it. I'll bring it over. We'll do a movie night, or I'll give it to you. You can have a movie night.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Anyways,
I digress.
We freaking digress. But that's what this whole show is about. It's just constant digressions, and that's okay, you know.
Mhm.
Well, should we get into our little movie review here? You know, because big movie came
Yeah.
out recently. You know,
We haven't done one of these in a while, and I feel bad that Chris isn't involved. But
that's true. Well, Chris has, you know, he's sort of going through a change right now with the Marvel movies, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, I can start to see it. You know, if you read his review
Yeah.
for Quantumania, which we will be reviewing today, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I don't know. He just like, I get it. You know, for him, the magic isn't there anymore, and he's having a hard time getting invested. You know, but for me, I'm still invested. You know, I'm not gonna say I'm as invested as I was like leading up to, you know, Infinity War and Endgame, where it's like, oh, all these Marvel movies are my freaking life, man. You know, I'm gonna watch them all over and over again. You know, I used to,
every time there's a new one, rewatch
legit,
the whole
the
thing.
reason why when I put in my Ant-Man Blu-ray and there was playing no sound, I'm like, oh, I probably like destroyed this Blu-ray because I've literally, since I got that for Christmas in 2015, I can't even tell you how many times I've played that Blu-ray. And you know, my letterbox stats, that's only from 2017, so there's still 2 years of me in high school not really branching out of like movies. I used to very much stay in my comfort zone, so I would watch Ant-Man over and over and over again. So I was like, oh, that's probably why my Blu-ray's busted, you know.
You wore it
I
out.
wore it out.
But usually Blu-rays have a longer shelf life than any other medium. Like, they don't scratch easy.
No,
I don't think I've ever scratched a Blu-ray.
my Baraka Blu-ray was scratched, which made me mad. But I cleaned.
Did it skip?
It skipped through one scene, but I ejected it and I cleaned it off, and it played fine, but there was like it was a little clippy, you know. But that was like the first time I've ever seen that with a Blu-ray. But anyways, that Blu-ray is super old. I don't know. My dad got that a while ago, like when Blu-rays first came out. So, yeah, let's get into Quantumania. So as you, if you're a dear humble listener of the show, you know me, you know I freaking flippin' adore that little tiny guy, Scott Lang. And man, look at Brandon. There he is, right there. He's standing up on on air. He's always been there. Yeah, I love Ant-Man. Ever since I was a kid, ever since I saw the first Iron Man, actually. You know, my mom bought me an Iron Man toy, and it came with a little Ant-Man figure. Well, she bought me an Iron Man toy, and then another guy, which was Yellow Jacket. And the Yellow Jacket toy came with a little Ant-Man. I'm like, who is this guy? You know, I love this guy's awesome. I love how he looks. And so I read up on Ant-Man because it came with like this info card of like the character. If you ever got the Marvel, I think it was called like Marvel Universe. They were the 3 3/4 inch figures. I collected so many of those. I have so many of those in my childhood home. But they used to come with like little info cards about the character, and so that's how I got to know Ant-Man. And then I watched Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and I was like, oh, you know, he's awesome. And then of course, like I did more research. I would give presentations on Ant-Man in school, in 8th grade. I remember, I gave a presentation on Ant-Man, and then some kid, he gave a presentation on Molecule Man, the Fantastic Four villain, and it was sort of like we had like a rivalry between like our favorite obscure comic book character. I remember like we did this thing where the whole classroom, like we had to vote who was cooler, Ant-Man or Molecule Man. Everyone voted Molecule Man. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You know, like, come on, guys. And then
they don't deserve to live.
They don't deserve to live. And then, of course, the movie Ant-Man came out like 2 years later from that. Loved it. I wrote my college essay on Ant-Man, which got me into Chapman University. Love it. Love it. Good Chapman University. Great school. Ant-Man and the Wasp came out. I love that movie. I think that movie is like, I think it's severely underrated in the MCU. And that not even from a bias standpoint. I think that movie's really unique in how it like tackles the Marvel formula. I think it's very different in terms of its narrative. And now we're here with Quantumania, and it had a lot on its plate. You know, it's sort of like the true first like peek into what's this next saga gonna be about. You know. We get a really nice look at the new big bad, the next Thanos character, Kang the Conqueror, a character that you and I love to death.
Adore.
Oh my god.
Yes.
He's my second favorite Marvel villain, right behind, of course, MODOK, who's also in this movie, and we'll talk about him later.
We will talk about him.
We will talk about MODOK. But I had the pleasure of going to a cast and crew screening of Quantumania on the Disney lot. There was no cast there. I don't think there was. Maybe there was, like extras and stuff. But
Paul Rudd in the background.
Paul Rudd did like record a message for all the people who worked at Marvel and played it before the movie. I saw Andy Park there, which was really cool. He's the head of visual development at Marvel. He basically does all the concept art for all like the characters' costumes and stuff. He like designed them all. So I saw him there. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I'm just gonna go around and say I loved this movie. I know a lot of people hate this movie. A lot of people think this movie is meh, and a lot of people think this movie is good. Like Brandon, he thought it was just good, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we haven't really delved into Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, just over just some stuff over the text. So Brandon,
yeah,
tell me like what worked for Ant-Man and the Wasp and what didn't?
Okay, what worked?
What worked?
I think what worked is Paul Rudd.
Oh yeah.
I think he's just the heart and soul of the Ant-Man movies, and as far as the Marvel Cinematic Universe goes, I think he brings a lot to like the later MCU. You know, a lot of life that is, because a lot of people will criticize those, and rightfully so in some cases, of being kind of generic in their visual style.
Yeah.
And or sense of language, but I think he brings like some humanity, like an everyman humanity because not everybody's going to be like Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. in their appearance or charisma.
Yeah.
And they don't feel like normal people even when they are acting. Whereas like Paul Rudd feels like he's a normal guy.
Yeah.
And I think he brings that to this movie as well. And especially with the Welcome Back Kotter opening, which we parodied on this show. It's wonderful. And yeah, it's stuff that you've seen in the trailer. But it's lovely, and I do also really love the villains of the movie, both the secondary and primary villains. I think Kang and MODOK are terrifically realized.
Yeah.
I'm a big Ant-Man fan, just like Ethan. I kind of became a fan of his like when I was watching. I read the comics growing up, and I remember being like, "Oh, Ant-Man! I love that character," just because like he's the smartest one. It seemed like he was even smarter than Iron Man, even though the movies don't really make him out to be that way.
I mean, dude, he created Ultron, you know, like
right, exactly.
Hank Pym, we should say Hank Pym, man.
Yeah,
not Scott Lang.
He did, yeah. And I loved his arc there, and then I sought him out after the Avengers movie, which I was really upset that he didn't make it, but I was also like, okay, so they're not going to do Ant-Man because it's ridiculous, and why would they? And then they did the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they're like, okay, maybe we could do Ant-Man now.
Yeah.
He's in our plan. And I like the way they mixed up his origin story with Scott Lang instead of Henry Pym. I was unsure about it at first, but the more I watch it, the more I like it.
Yeah.
And I think they've done a really good job at adapting the relationships between characters and the tones, even though a lot of people are hating MODOK.
Yeah.
A lot of people. That is like, I will not lie. Like the people, when that first happened at the screening, everybody just burst out into laughter.
Yeah.
And I get it. But that was a great translation in terms of like what he is to what he, and like, I don't know, Corey Stoll does a really good job at convey. And I noticed that somebody had a complaint that he should have been emoting more, been more angry.
Yeah.
And had more of a robotic voice, but I'm like, I think it works for this movie. And they could do whatever they want. It's a comic book franchise. There's multiverses. This is the multiverse saga.
Yeah.
Maybe they bring him back.
A MODOK variant that like looks exactly like MODOK in the comic, like really disgusting. Okay, so like I said, MODOK is my favorite villain. No, he's my second favorite villain of all time. Behind Clayface is my favorite villain of all time. MODOK's my second favorite, but he's my favorite Marvel villain. And the way I got introduced into MODOK, do you remember this? It was a YouTube series called Marvel What The? It was published on Marvel's official YouTube account. It was like stop motion animation using action figures. And the main character of that was MODOK. And I thought he was hilarious. And I'm just like, MODOK is just a funny character. You know, he's a dumb, funny character.
But he's smart.
There's no way you can walk around. But he's smart. He's really smart, but he's dumb. And
the way he looks is dumb.
And everyone was like, they should have made him like the MODOK in the Avengers game. I would have been so mad if they made him like the MODOK in the... I hate that MODOK. So that's maybe a hot take, but I hate it. Have you seen him? Where he's like... his proportions are like, I don't know, and it's like the suit, and it's like it's supposed to be a sort of like body horror, like it's a scary thing that he's becoming MODOK. You know, his head gets bigger and bigger throughout the game, and it's like he's all sickly and gross, and I'm just like,
MODOK should just be like he is, he just exists, in the world, because he's just a silly head. Because
his origin is just like, they did some experiments on George Tarleton, I think that was his original name. And then his head just got big. That was it. You know, it wasn't like some slow like Kafka-esque metamorphosis into like to what he is. And I'm just like, you don't need to make MODOK scary. You know, he's just a gross, funny guy with a big head.
He can be imposing. While also be.
And I think they did a good job with that actually by making him like this hunter character. And I actually, I wasn't warm to the mask at first, but I actually liked it. I think it works for him to wear that mask because it makes sense. He's like this big, bulging head. Why would the top of his head be exposed for fighting? You know. Right. It would make sense for him to have like a battle mask, and that mask looks like his face from the comics, So so it kind of worked for me, But I understand why people wouldn't love it. I'm just like, there's just a thing with MODOK where it's just like, there's just this struggle of people wanting it to be too silly or too serious, you know, like, and no one was gonna win with this. I feel like nobody was gonna win, so I was happy with him. I think Corey Stoll did a great performance as MODOK, just because like he's not like, everyone wanted like Jim Carrey to be MODOK or something like that, you know, this really extravagant. But like I kind of liked how like normal MODOK was, you know what I mean?
Well,
like
yeah,
like
he's
when
just like a guy.
like when Scott was to like but by the way, this is gonna be spoilers for Quantumania. It's been a couple weeks coming out. When Scott was like, when he was, you know, when he was trying to steal the thing and he was like trying to radio MODOK, and he was like saying Darren, and he's like MODOK, and MODOK just goes, yeah, or he goes, what? He's like, yeah, what?
He's just a normal guy, as
He's
if
just a
nothing
normal
had
guy.
happened.
And like, I thought his death scene was so funny because it was gross. We kept like spitting up bile and stuff like that. I'm just like, that's so funny that make
like,
this gross
Scott,
guy like,
you're a brother to me.
yeah, there's like a brother to me, and he's like, I'm glad I could finally die in Adventure. I thought that was so funny, and how Paul Rudd just plays off that. Like, I bet that.
Yeah, you're in.
I bet that was totally improv. He's like, yeah, man, you're in. That was so good. That's like, I think that's my favorite joke in the movie when he just goes, you're in, you know, like, and then he goes, a lot has happened today, like staring at this gross dead like floating head.
And I'm like, only in a Marvel movie.
Only in a
this
Marvel
would
movie.
happen.
Okay, so we had a little MODOK talk, but let's talk about the movie itself. Listen, I get why people are hate this movie. I think there's a, you know, I will be one of the first to say, I think this and Thor: Love and Thunder are the two like cheapest movies when it comes to visual effects. And I hate to say that because I saw that with all the visual effects artists, you know, and I saw them like applauding all the names, and I'm like, I can tell a lot of hard work went into this. I think just the key problem with those two movies is the volume, man. You know?
Yeah. Why?
It's the thing. They're like, productions today have to reteach themselves how to shoot actors and light them against basically a matte painting. You know, because blockbusters have been so used to just doing green screen, and they know just like,
or practical,
just practical or green screen. We're just like, all right, you know, we can just get this light that we can easily manipulate in post, you know, and then it's just a green background. But when you have the volume, like, the depth's already there, so you have to light it correctly to create shadow. When
otherwise it's flat,
it looks flat, and it's a screen, so there's no shadow behind them, you know. So I think like one of the like, I think the worst looking scene in this movie was when it was Hope, Hank, and Janet when they were trying to, like, when they were trying to get a ride. Remember, they were out in like that desert.
When they're in the desert,
Oh my god, that looked horrible. And I was so depressed. I was like, damn, this, like, I'm loving this movie, but like, just there's just a part of me where I can't like be fully invested because all I see are just like actors just clipped into like a scene, like into like a background, just like, this looks like someone just did this in After Effects, you know. And I feel horrible saying that because, you know, I know so many people put some hard work in it, and I know like the crunch was the worst for like the past
year and a half.
Since COVID, the like crunch for visual effects on Marvel movies has been just horrible, you know. And I feel so bad that like, you know, that so many visual effects artists had to like go away, like lose time that they could spend with their families and loved ones, you know, or actually have a life to put out something that looks like this, you know, where if they were given more time, it could have looked better and they could have had more of a life and get paid better, you know.
I don't think it helps that Avatar came out 2 months ago.
Dude, I know. I was watching the scene when the second time I saw it, when they're flying on that thing and it like goes on the water, and I'm like, dude, I just saw Avatar like a few weeks ago, and it's just like, it's so much better than this. I'm so pissed, you know, because I'm like, it's Ant-Man. It's like, it should be the same quality. It was the same people, like, it's the same studio. Why didn't you do this? I don't know. But then again, Avatar had like 15 years.
13 years.
To perfect everything. Yeah. So like, that's a bit unreasonable.
And probably like, they started the VFX for Avatar in like 2017, before COVID.
Yeah.
And then they had COVID to work on it because they had more time. And I'm sure James Cameron is like a perfectionist.
Oh yeah.
And as much as like it's a charged word in the industry, a pixel fucker. Like, I'm sure he is.
Oh, I bet.
But I don't know, man. I just think he has a vision that doesn't change. Whereas with the Marvel Universe, they have many different VFX houses, many different creatives behind it. They'll change something last minute.
Yeah.
And they were known for doing this, and we thought it was really cool. I remember, I think everybody thought it was really cool that the first Avengers movie, they didn't turn in the finished product till the day of,
Yes,
or they
the
shot the
end
post credit scene.
They shot
Yeah,
that after the premiere, and we were like, "Oh man,
Right.
that's so cool!" And we always like were like, when it was leading up to Endgame, we're like, "Oh, nobody knows that even post how this movie's gonna finally happen," you know, because there's so many.
Yeah.
They filmed so many like takes and alternate, and they made all the VFX workers like put it all together, and then at the very last second, they chose the cut that they wanted, you know, and
Right.
we were like, "Oh, that's cool," but now it's just
But now we're like,
now it's just like, okay, now they're just like they're on the fly, like completely change. Like I have a friend at work. I have a couple of friends that work at Marvel, and just like the stories that I've heard were just like, yeah, we like we made an action sequence take place in this area, and then they came in and said we want to actually be in a completely different area, and it like the scene wasn't lit for that kind of area, you know, because that's a big thing, and it's just like it's just a bunch of unreasonable requests because of, you know, test screenings, you know. I think we need to get rid of test screenings too. That is just like
for big movies.
I think for small movies, test screenings make sense because they need to like figure out how to market it, you know. It's all for it's not for like changing the product after. Like that's not what test screening should be. This should be like, okay, here's how the people feel about this movie. How can we like take that and make it so we can sell it to like people who in this test screening liked it, you know, so we can make money off from those people, you know. That's what test screening should be. Not that, oh, they didn't like the final act, let's rework it in post, you know.
Right.
No, that's not how it should go. And I don't know. But okay, that honestly, the visual effects and just like a few things of writing were my only complaints with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I found this film to be such a good development for Scott Lang against his trilogy, you know, where it's just like he starts out as an underdog, and then he ramps up more in stakes and scale into becoming an Avenger, saving the world, you know. And he has to be sort of reminded that he's the little guy, you know, where because one of my favorite sort of narrative threads is between him and Cassie, where Cassie's like, you were Ant-Man, you saved the world, but now you're just like signing books for a living, you know. You're just living off. He's just living.
He
off
got
his
too
success.
comfortable.
He got way too comfortable, you know. And it's a nice reminder, and it's paired with like such a good political thread of, you know, people who are displaced, you know, because they talk about people displaced after the blip, and, you know, Cassie was arrested in the beginning of the movie because she was protesting and she used her powers,
and then
shrink a cop car,
the quantum people,
and then it's all about imperialism, you know, and she really wants to help people, and Scott Lang's like, it's not our fight, and she's like, why? Like, that's such a privileged thing to say for you to not be your fight. If you have the ability to make change, you should, you know, and he does because he's Ant-Man. You know, he saved the world, like he says a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just like that was such a cool thing that they paired. They adapted one of my favorite classic Ant-Man storylines from the Hank Pym era, where Ant-Man and the Wasp are captured by the Living Eraser. He's this dude who like he swings he kind of actually looks like Kang, but he has a green face and he wears purple. He swings his hand and it's almost like, you know, he erases people, like the artist just like started erasing the character, and that was like his was like his power. It was actually the first appearance of Giant Man, was that comic. But anyways, the Living Eraser kidnaps Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne and take them to sort of like the quantum realm. It's Dimension Z, you know, it's another dimension, and they're imprisoned, and sort of you know, Hank and Janet have to like create an uprising to overthrow the Living Eraser and escape Dimension Z. And I was just like, that's when I knew like that I know Peyton Reed's an Ant-Man fan, but that's what I was like, okay, this guy gets it, because that's what he was doing with the quantum realm, and I can tell he's also very, he's a fan of pulp comics and film, because
Science fiction. Yeah.
because dude, the quantum realm, that's just like Flash Gordon. Like, if you've seen the Flash Gordon movie, like the backgrounds look the exact same. They like the world design is very similar. Of course, the Flash Gordon movie from, I think it was like the 80s or 70s, that is very dated. But it's the same thing. Scott Lang is Flash Gordon. Kang the Conqueror is Ming, the merciful or merciless. I don't fucking remember his name. Whatever racist character, what's his name, played. Who played Ming? It was
I don't know.
Who is the guy who dies in Knives Out at the beginning? Who creates the board games?
Christopher Plummer?
Christopher Plummer plays Ming the Merciless, and he's like,
wow.
Yeah, he's kind of like yellow face, and I'm just like, what the hell? Or maybe it's not Christopher Plummer. Who's the other guy who looks like Christopher Plummer? The Swedish guy, Seventh Seal.
Oh, Max von Sydow?
Yeah, it's one of those. I think it's Max von Sydow. Sorry, I always get those two guys confused. They look the same.
Still fucked up.
Yeah, because he's like a Swedish guy playing it like this clearly Chinese stereotype. Anyways, that's Kang the Conqueror. It's the exact same thing. And I can tell he's getting that because there's the more like warrior-like people in the quantum realm. Then there's the very super science fiction alien-like people, and then there's like the weird blob, like amoeba-like people that you'd see like if you like zoomed in on like amoebas, in a microscope.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was a really cool hodgepodge of a universe. I love the scenes where it's just like where you just get to see the world building. Like the cantina scene was super cool. The practical costumes were awesome. The buildings that can move were so cool. I loved it. What were some more things that you loved before we get into more of your complaints?
I mean, I'm not going to get into Kang because we can save him for last.
Yeah.
Because I feel like everybody coming out of this movie talks about Kang and Jonathan Majors, but I actually I will tie the visuals to the positive and the negative, because I will say, and I say it in my review, not in its uniqueness or it's its uniqueness that it is beautiful visually, because it does remind me of something like Strange World from Disney that came out recently, where it is this very living world that is very unknown and strange and almost Lovecraftian in its appearance and look and how it operates. But I think, like you said, visually it struggled to convey that because it was very flat. Like, it did feel like they were on a soundstage with like a screen the whole time.
Yeah,
pretty much. But I mean, I love the visuals of this movie and like what you see, because it is so different from all the other Marvel movies. Like the only ones that I can think of that match it are like the Doctor Strange movies in terms of their uniqueness and oddness in their visuals.
Yeah.
Because it is very surrealistic, almost like a Buñuel product. And I'm sorry to compare a Marvel movie to a Buñuel product.
What the hell? Let me go on my...
Yeah. This shit isn't Kino.
Yeah. This isn't Kino. Ant-Man lost some Quantumaniacs at Kino. What are you talking about?
Who cares,
but it's like,
man?
it is, but it also plays echoes of those like 50 serials, like when B sci-fi. And
Yeah.
I think it honestly is trying to play into B science fiction with its tone and stuff like that. I just think the problem is it's got this jarring connection to a very serious ongoing thread that the MCU is trying to, which is an incursions and a multiversal destruction. And that doesn't match well with like campy army group that is like making quips all the time, that takes itself too seriously, but the audience knows it. And like a MODOK as a character, if we're gonna play him not so serious. And then you have Scott Lang and all of the people in their ant family that are quipping the whole time. So it's like it's this lightness juxtaposed against the like grimmest side of the MCU that we've seen outside of Infinity War and Endgame. And it's just like that, just jarring with the visuals is just so hard to appreciate. That the B-ness of the plot is not enjoyable for a lot of people. But for me, I was able to put that away. Although, let me say, we're going to get into it when we get to my complaints. But the first act like had me checked out.
Really?
I'll get into it later. But I mean, I love the visual flair. I gotta say, I love the design. It really shuts down people who say, "Oh, they're all gray movies." I'm like, are they? They're not trying to be.
Mm-mm.
I think they're trying not to be. I think the color correction let it breathe more, but it's not a DC movie
No.
where it's just all gray all the time or like tinted to be more realistic.
Yeah. I just think I totally there's a clash going on, and it didn't bother me. But there's a scene where Kang basically explains everything that He Who Remains explains in that last episode of Loki. I'm like, oh, why? Okay, we have to get this scene again because you can't expect
People
everyone
didn't
to watch
watch
Loki.
Yeah.
On Disney Plus. You can't expect everyone to own a Disney Plus subscription, and to watch that show specifically. So I'm like, okay, I get it, but it's just like I can tell that there is a very much a distinction between Kang's goals in this film and the world building,
Mm-hmm.
and I like I said, I didn't mind it because I love King the Conqueror already, and I love that whole world, and I love the Ant-Man world. So I'm like, okay, I'll just take two of these things together, but I can understand why that would be a problem for people,
Yeah.
I think,
I mean,
but it's interesting
there's
that you said that
yeah.
the first half is, because I've been hearing the opposite. I've been hearing people have been saying they love the first half and then they're lost in the second, and it just becomes noisy. It just becomes big, loud, and noisy, and they check out.
Yeah, I checked out of the first half mostly because of the writing. I felt like it was so on the nose, plot hole heavy. I thought the quips didn't hit. Like I love the opening.
Like when they're not in the quantum realm. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, when they're not in the quantum realm.
Yeah, that was
when it's like you're seeing what they've been up to since Endgame, and you can see how they've evolved as characters. Although I wish we got more of that.
Yeah.
I think it kind of rushed to the quantum realm.
I do too.
But I think that opening is good. But then once it gets into them in the quantum realm, and there's these secrets, and there's this obvious setup for the ants coming back later,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like Janet. I love the Janet flashbacks in the first act, but
some of my favorite parts.
She just
of the movie.
kept, yeah, but she keeps going. Okay, we won't get into that right now. We won't get into that. And I'm like, okay. And then it's getting repetitive at points. And then I felt the Rick and Morty-ness of it. And then once it got to the drink the ooze scene,
Yeah.
and Bill Murray as Krylar,
Mm-hmm.
I like that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, it's winning me over a little bit, but it just took a while to get there, like a half hour.
Yeah.
And at first, I hated the writing. I was like, it's so exposition heavy. It's so... it feels like it's trying to be too clever for what it is, and that is like some of the faults of a Rick and Morty writer.
Yeah.
I love Rick and Morty, but like that tone works for that show. It doesn't work for a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And I think the writer who wrote Doctor Strange and Loki,
Mm-hmm.
who worked, I think he kind of found his own tone, and I don't understand why people have a problem with his writing in those movies.
Yeah. Did you write this one too?
In shows. No, it was a different one.
Okay.
So, and he's writing King Dynasty.
The guy who wrote this one is writing King Dynasty.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, so like this guy's like, he's playing into the B level, and this guy, I think he's found his own tone that matches Marcus and McFeely.
Yeah.
From the Phase 3. And I was like, it's just like, I don't know how I feel about this in terms of like how it's written. And then once it gets to that drink the ooze, I was like, that's very enjoyable. B sci-fi.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the cheese of Zeb, the guy with no holes.
Yeah.
And Quasar, Quasar.
Yeah.
Who's played by Chidi from The Good Place.
Right.
Yeah, I love that humor,
It was good.
But it does feel a bit random. But it did feel like Star Wars. It felt like Return of the Jedi a lot. Not gonna lie.
No, you're right.
It feels a lot.
Sadly, it felt a lot like Rise of Skywalker in the end there too.
But that's
better.
That's how I felt.
It was like better than Rise of
but
Skywalker.
better.
We're gonna say it was
better.
better than Rise of Skywalker.
But that's what I'm saying though. It's like that first third of Return of the Jedi I do not like.
Really?
It's well documented. I hate the first
I love
third.
the first third. That's my favorite.
It takes too long.
That's my favorite third of the movie.
It takes too long to get to the part. The middle third is okay. And then the last third I really like, outside of one thing.
Yeah.
Which is true for both films.
Oh, yeah.
So there's one thing I hate about
Let's
the
get
third
into that
act.
one thing. Tell me, what is it?
Okay. I hate that they don't get trapped in the quantum realm at the end.
You know, I could tell that's what they were originally going to do. I absolutely knew that. And then they don't do it.
It felt tacked on. It felt so tacked.
Well, I heard that there was reshoots. There was like leaked sets photos of like they're reshooting. Like I thought they were reshooting the beginning because it's Paul Rudd walking outside, and then I realized I'm like, no, this is they shot the end. This is the ending that they just shot like a few weeks before the movie. So I have a feeling that like they originally had, you know, Scott and Hope trapped in the quantum realm, and then they're like, no, we can't do that. We gotta have it be a happy ending. So they tacked on that they go back and have that birthday cake dinner, you know.
I have a thought.
Yeah.
That they didn't want to kill anybody.
Yeah.
And that they thought it would be too similar if the next time he appears is in Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars.
It would have been
and
similar
he comes out of the quantum realm again to save the world.
Yeah, it would have been the same ending as Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I don't know. They should have just stuck with their guns, I think. I think it could have been cool, you know?
It's just like it builds the stakes and there's consequences. And if it cuts off, you think, the threat, right? But then it gives them something to do in the meantime that will build their character. Because honestly, I feel like Hope and Hank were wasted in this movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like Cassie's development, mainly because I don't like how Peyton Reed directed Catherine Newton.
Oh, yeah.
I think I loved Michelle Pfeiffer's Janet, and I love Scott Lang.
Yeah,
obviously.
it was like they were Ant-Man and the Wasp. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it wasn't Scott and Hope.
Technically,
it was Scott and Janet were Ant-Man. Like they were the title Ant-Man and the Wasp in this movie, and I'm just like, that sucks because I want to see more of Hope. You know?
Yeah, but also like, what development has happened to her character in this movie? Nothing. Like,
I mean,
maybe No Jersey.
Maybe that was intentional after all the COVID stuff that Evangeline Lilly said. So.
Oh yeah, but then they make Letitia Wright
that was after they shot Black Panther. Remember, they shot Black Panther, then she said that stuff. They're like, oh fuck, and maybe that's why they added little T'Challa at the end. They were like, we're just gonna skip to him now. We're just gonna go back to T'Challa.
wait. But I hated that choice because it undercut the powerful sacrifice that Paul Rudd made.
Yeah,
which was
where we both just have to lose. And I'm just like, that would have been so cool. Like even if it was
and even if they decided to kill one of the characters. I mean, you said it yourself. You thought Scott was gonna die.
Because like, so they gotta lose something, you know? Because every
and they lost nothing.
They lost nothing. No, you know who they lost? They lost MODOK. That's what. Scott Lang lost his brother. He lost his brother Darren in this movie.
They lost the guy who was the sun face Kree. I don't know what he was. But
oh yeah.
Yeah, but those were the only two characters of importance that died.
And it was so sad. I cried so
And none of them were as crushing as Anthony from the first Ant-Man film.
Honestly, you're not wrong. Like, you're not wrong at all. That was crushing. But yeah. Okay, I want to talk about one of my least favorite parts of the movie, which was the first post-credits scene.
Oh my god. I know it's a recreation of a comic panel.
I know it. Yeah, it's literally a recreation of a panel. Okay, so the post-credit scene, you've seen the movie, the Council of Kangs. They introduce the Council of Kangs.
Jesus Christ.
They introduce Ramatut, Immortus, and I guess that's the
Scarlet Centurion.
But I guess that's
Kang Prime, one of the two.
One of those guys. I think it's Scarlet Centurion, but maybe they don't want him to be like Scarlet. They just want him to be. So it's not like Scarlet Witch or anything like that.
That's the Silver Surfer.
Like Silver Centurion. I don't know, but I don't know
because he goes up. Because he goes.
It's Vision. Oh. But I was just like, it was just so goofy. It like not in a good way, you know, because we've established Kang as this character holds a great amount of gravitas, as we see in He Who Remains in Loki, really formidable. And then we see Kang and Quantumania. I'm like, oh, this, like, I can't wait to meet their variants. And then he's like, they're just wearing really
makeup,
really dumb outfits. I'm sorry, like
they look like
he's wearing.
They look like Sly Stallone in
Spy Kids.
3D.
Harrison, friend of the show, he made a joke on Twitter that looked like that. Yeah, because like he looked like he was wearing a Party City like Pharaoh outfit, and I'm like, okay, I get it. Like that is a hard thing to adapt, But then Immortus, like, what is he doing in that?
He's just
a
blue
dumb,
face,
and he's like doing this really dumb accent. He's like, he's doing his who's that guy from Rogue One? Pukalit.
Forrest Whitaker's character.
I know, Forrest Whitaker's character. I forgot his character.
Saw Gerrera.
Yeah. Pukalit, we must not let them find the multiverse or something like that. And then I was like, why are like I was just confused how they directed the scene too of showing all the Kangs. Like, what were they doing? They're jumping around. They're like, yeah, and like, why are they screaming?
Like, why are they cheering? Why are they cheering?
I wish they were just all like, like, because the Council of Kangs, like, it's supposed to be like a meeting of like
the smartest minds.
It's supposed to be like Greek philosophers coming together, where they come into this big Colosseum.
Not a stadium.
And they're all just like all menacing, like, but they're not just like, yeah, like I saw Kang, he's like jumping up like a baby. He's like, yeah. I'm just like, what is happening?
I also hated, like, after the three were talking and we're staring at I'm assuming from the Citadel of Time at the end of Loki. Oh, yeah. I think that's like the remnants of that building. They're standing there. And they're all getting up, and it's obviously a shot on the volume. You're on the green screen, and they're splitting because they're all Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
And they're all doing things like turning around, standing up. It's like so cringeworthy and bad. Yeah. And like the screaming monkey king. And I'm like, what is Jonathan Majors doing? How is he directed on this? Like, just go crazy, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just like it left a sour taste in my mouth because I was like, the ending of the movie wasn't for me, but this post-credit scene better be a very good setup for the future. And it just was like, oh, it feels like the first Avengers with Thanos, except less menacing. And I'm like,
hopefully it is just like that, because Thanos was a lot different than when we first saw him in the Avengers. So
right, but also it's like they have less time.
Yeah,
there was like 6 or 7 years between that and that.
Now there's just
and
2.
Then also there's 2, and also they've got plans, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Majors is probably booked doing stuff with them. But also, a lot of people, and I've been seeing this a lot, have been criticizing the decision to put Kang in this movie at all. And they're saying, why is he in this movie? By Ant-Man beating him, it's like he's the smallest hero, and he just defeated Kang. No. And I'm like, that's not the point, because it felt like he beat him by accident.
Yeah.
And or by like luck, because he was gonna get his ass handed to him. And only that, it took an army of ants and
super smart ants,
MODOK. And MODOK.
Yeah.
And it was like
the whole quantum realm
just
revolted against him,
And he just wouldn't fucking die.
Yeah.
And he's like an ant in that respect.
And who's to say he's dead? I don't think he's dead.
I know.
He's not dead.
I don't either.
Because it's called the Kang Dynasty. He's not dead. I mean,
it could be those other Kangs. I think the next movie or they're going to do an Avengers Age of Ultron thing where at the end of Guardians, there was that post-credit scene with Baron von Strucker and the twins. And it was goofy, but it was like, yeah, I can't wait to see. Yeah. And then in the Avengers Age of Ultron, fucking dead. Immediately.
Oh, yeah, he was.
and I think Kang Dynasty begins with all those Kangs that we see in that post-credit scene. Just dead. Kang Prime's there or something.
Yeah.
Or not
the Beyonder or something like that,
Or it's going to be like, all of those Kangs are, it's not that there's one Kang, it's that there's many. Yeah. And that's stupid because it could lead to cheesiness, but it's also like they just keep coming no matter what you do.
But like, the thing is that the Council of Kangs, they were never like a threat in the comics, It was always just...
No, they were for the good of the universe.
Yeah, it was for the good of the universe. And it was always, they just, like, there was always like one bad Kang, who would like that's who the Avengers would fight, and that's who'd be a formidable threat. So it's not like the Avengers have to take on all of these Kangs, you know.
Right.
They're sort of a neutral force, you know, the Council of Kangs, and I hope they keep it that way. You know, I don't want to see the Avengers fight like a just cannon fodder of Jonathan Majors.
Kangs.
You know,
Yeah,
it'd be so
like,
lame.
But also this movie sort of played into like the same tropes that we saw in early Phase 1.
Yeah.
Or Phase 2 with like the no-faced armies.
Oh yeah, like those Kang android guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Going against each other. And the reason why Endgame and Infinity were so good was because you got a feel for all the characters and heroes that were involved because they had been built up.
Right.
And the villain had been built up. And it felt less like, oh, this is just like, no, we have developed secondary villains and a primary villain that you're going to care about. And we're going to have minions, but they're not going to be the focus.
Yeah.
Like they were for like the Avengers with the Chitauri.
Yeah.
But that kind of was what the third act felt like, but I didn't mind it because I was invested in Scott's journey, even if that journey was a small personal one.
Yeah.
Ironically. But that second post-credit scene before we get into Kang,
that was great. I like that one.
It's a clip. It's definitely
it's like the last post-credit scene of the first Ant-Man, where it's just like that was a clip from Civil War, but this is a clip from Loki, and I'm just like that made me
Season 2.
really excited because Victor Timely, I think he's probably my second favorite variant of Kang, behind of course Kang himself, because it's like it's such a genius thing for Kang to go back in time and sort of like create this industrial revolution that sort of spawns all the superheroes that we know, you know? Like, it wouldn't be for we wouldn't have, like, Reed Richards, Tony Stark, or anything like that if it wasn't for Victor Timely and the things that he did, you know, in the 1800s. It's so cool.
Do you think the universe that Loki's in and the universe that the mainline MCU is taking place in are the two universes that are going to be the incursion of Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty? Or do you think it's going to be like a bunch of different incursions on
it's going to
like
be
the
a
Fox
whole
and
bunch.
Sony verse?
That's
like
what it's
I don't
gonna
know what
be.
it's setting up.
The
The problem is they're setting up so much that I have no idea where they're going, but they know where they're going, but that's going to make it really hard to watch each of these individually as a movie.
Yeah.
Because how do you establish that this movie is coming? That's why I'm like kind of pissed.
Yeah.
That they revealed that it's Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars.
Oh, because we didn't know it was going to be Infinity War. You know?
Yeah, or Endgame. We just assumed until like the year before that
when the trailer
that
dropped,
was what it was going to be.
That's what it was going to be Endgame, right?
And they weren't really like beat for beat adaptations. Like I'm sure this isn't going to be, but like I'm just worried.
People are saying that the Secret Wars might, like, the main two characters might be Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman.
That's weird.
That is weird, but it's also like, I don't know. That's like, that's sort of like an end game of Marvel as a whole being adapted to film. So that kind of makes sense. You know, if that's the last time we ever see Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman as those characters, that'd be kind of cool.
It's just a full circle moment, I guess, because you've got, I guess, the only characters that are not even rumored to be in the MCU at this point
are like Josh Trank's Fantastic Four characters.
Yeah, Josh Trank's Fantastic Four and Blade. Wesley Snipes' Blade.
Oh,
and maybe Nick Cage's Ghost Rider, but he might even be in that. I don't even know.
That would be sick.
But even Eric Bana's Hulk is, and I'm like, what are we doing here?
Why do people want that? Why do people want Eric Bana to come back? That movie sucked.
Why do people want these movies to cross over? I'm like, I'm down for like the Fox early 2000s Fox X-Men. Yeah, sure, Spider-Man, do it. Sony's a whore, you know, they'll do it.
They'll do
but
it.
Why
they'll
like
do whatever they can?
Fox Fantastic Four with even Gruffalo and Guffarold or
Chris
Chris
why do they want
Evans
him back?
I don't know, Michael Chiklis, just Galba. But anyway, Kang. We got to get into him.
Okay.
And he's kind of the anchor for this movie.
Yeah.
I loved him. I thought Jonathan Majors brought a great balance of menace and heart to his character. And I thought what they were building with his belief in the multiverse, but while similar to Loki and He Who Remains his thing at the end,
Yeah.
was a compelling thing for, even though they didn't play with it enough, I think, was a very compelling angle to put Scott Lang at odds with him as over.
Yeah.
It is a mess because it's like, how does everybody know what's going on? You know, it's I feel like all the interactions happen off screen, but he's so terrific and menacing. His future tech, he yells and screams, but he's also like, just when he's talking to Janet,
Yeah.
in those flashback sequences when they're trying to put together this H.G. Wells-esque time machine, which I've always loved about Kang.
Yeah.
Like whether it's
His
in the
time
comics
chair
or
is so cool.
his time chair. It's not even like a vehicle; it's just a chair. And
Sometimes it's even just like a beanbag. It's like an invisible
Yeah.
beanbag. I like when he first
just
appeared
like-
in the Avengers comics. He's just like lounging on like this invisible like little jellyfish beanbag. I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
I mean, it's the same chair from Loki, I think, at the end, in the elevator.
Oh yeah.
When they opened, I think it is. I haven't gone back and rewatched it, but I really dug that. And the way he was portrayed in the movie was just, I thought, perfect. And I think a lot of people are overreacting with him being dead and stuff like that, and him not being as like believable as a villain because Ant-Man beat him.
I think he was the perfect character to have as like the capper to this Ant-Man trilogy, because the Ant-Man films have always been about lost time. You know, Scott loses time in the beginning because he has to go to jail, so he loses time with his daughter. Then in Ant-Man the Wasp, he loses more time because he's under house arrest. You know, and it's always a race against the clock. They always have to race against time to get Janet, to escape the cops, to escape the people who want their tech. And then, of course, in Endgame, he misses more time with his daughter because he was trapped in the quantum realm. So Scott has always been burdened with this lost time that he has to be a father, or to be like, you know, just a normal person. And finally, he meets this guy who's like, I can give you all that time back, you know. And same with Janet, because she was trapped in the quantum realm, and that's why they work together. He's like, I could take you right back to when you left, you know, when you left Hope to go on that mission. I could take you right back to that moment. You can walk right through those doors, you know. And it's just like, that's what you needed to wrap up this whole thematic strand of these three movies. Is these characters are, you know, they're burdened with lost time, and finally they have a way to get that time back, but they have to do bad things to do it, you know. And I'm just like, that's why Kang was so great. It had to be like a time traveler for the third movie. And like, I think Jonathan Majors was so good. His best scenes are the scenes when he was with Janet, you know. Those two were just a powerhouse. Those like
So good.
The best acted scenes were when it was just those two
It
talking.
didn't matter.
Yeah.
It didn't matter that there was like a lack of environment because she was like outside of civilization.
Yeah.
It was just them talking.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, she touched the neural core. That's so stupid. Like, of course that's the thing. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That is like intrinsic to the Avengers with the Soul Stone, and like Wanda seeing Ultron's plans of destruction. And there's always a neural link between these things.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
It just made sense.
I thought it worked.
Yeah.
And Kang as that devastating figure, I love that. It sets him up as like a big bad, and we see him like erase people, like you said, in this movie.
Yeah. I think this movie's gonna get Age of Ultron, where it's like people don't like it when it comes out, you know. But if Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars do turn out to be incredible, you know, on like Infinity War and Endgame level, people are gonna go back to Quantumania and they're gonna be like, you know, I think we judged this a bit too harshly, you know, because if the plan follows through that they have for this multiverse saga, you know, people are gonna start seeing this like, oh shit, wait, no, there's a lot more depth here than what we assumed, you know.
See, a lot of these Phase 4 products, say what you will about the visual style, and I hate to call them products, but in actuality, that's what most blockbuster movies are.
Yeah.
But when I look back at Phase 4 and now this first entry in Phase 5, most, if not all, of the projects outside of the visuals has improved upon my estimation. The only one that hasn't is Thor: Love and Thunder, which has gotten worse in my regard.
Yeah.
Everything else has either stayed pat at where it is, like a 3 or 4 or 4.5. No 5s, I don't think.
Yeah.
But like all of that has stayed where it is, except for Thor: Love and Thunder and Rise of Skywalker, which personally for me have gotten worse. But even upon thinking about it for this review,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. There are things that I absolutely despise about the movie.
Yeah.
Make no mistake. Like I told you, like the humor and writing in the first act almost had me checked out of the movie entirely.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But I think there's enough there that when you think about it and when you talk about it with other people, there's something. It's just whether or not you like the humor or writing it's going to vary person to person. And that's unfortunate. But I think the overall arc that the story is going for is good. It's just hard to analyze or review something when it's not over.
They're not being as safe as with their choice of writers anymore. I feel like in the beginning they were very safe with like what characters said and the jokes that they told. Like it was very very normy, you know. But now in these newer movies, like some of they're getting a lot more writers that, you know, like they're not for everybody, you know.
Yeah.
And I just think
I get that.
I think that's a thing that just people who follow the MCU fans, they just have to accept that like people are not gonna like everything now, you know, like we did, because it's no longer novel, you know. Back in the first 3 phases, like leading up to this, was like everybody was on board because it was new and different, you know. But now that we're like doing it again, I think Marvel is realizing that like you don't have to watch everything, you know. You don't have to. You can now just pick and choose the things that you want to watch and the things that speak to you. And I think MCU fans are getting highly protective over that, you know.
I think they're just
like, no, you gotta watch everything.
So...
You're like, what's going on? I'm like, if you know, our friend, you know, Joey, he doesn't watch any of the shows, you know. I mean, I don't think any of our friends outside of the two of us really care about the MCU anymore all that much, you know. That's fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know? But like there's so many MCU fans and like people on the internet who are just like so intense about like carrying people's enjoyment of these. And there's people on the opposite side too who are like, so they're so intense if you do like this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And just like
I'm just vibing.
I'm just like, dude, I'm just gonna watch these movies because it's my show, you know. Like this is everyone has their show that they just like they keep up every week, and sometimes that show sucks, sometimes it's good, but in the end it's still like it's just that show that you always have
your show.
And I'm just like, MCU's my show, you know. I like it.
I mean, it's weird because you say this homogenous product. Homogenous is what I would say is like early. Everything except for the Guardians movies feels very homogenous.
Yeah.
But every phase 4 and 5 project has, like you said, felt like its own thing. Like WandaVision is no closer to Loki than it is to like Shang-Chi or Black Widow.
Oh yeah.
And it's like every product or show or movie, anything feels different.
Yeah, She-Hulk
and that's
is like nothing. Like
I mean, I liked Eternals a lot, but Ethan, it was kind of mixed on it.
I find it really bland, you know, and that's okay if people love it, and that's okay if people don't, you know, it's fine.
The only movie I feel like and show that everybody's disliked is Thor: Love and Thunder. I feel like,
but I know people who like that too, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But it's leaning in the negative direction.
I think it's a mostly negative experience, and like,
yes,
that was such a disappointing movie because I was so excited.
Because the arcs, I love it was my most anticipated movie last year because of the arcs.
Yeah,
that it's telling the story of from the comics, and
I'm a huge Taika fan too, and I'm just like, he phoned it in. He totally phoned it in,
and it felt like a baby movie. But that's the thing, and that's my other thing about these Marvel movies. I like them.
Yeah.
But I will admit, it seems to be that they're skewing towards the younger audience.
They're comic book. These characters were made for children. That's just something we gotta accept. We gotta accept these characters were made for children. These are family movies. They never won't be, except for Deadpool 3, because that's gonna be rated R. But that is just something you have to accept, that
I know.
I'm like, these are and it's okay to enjoy them,
I know. It's just they've evolved from when they started out. If you look at the first phase,
Yeah.
they feel like very edgy in comparison. Until once it got to like, I would say like once it got to like Spider-Man. No, once it got to phase 3, it got less edgy and more safe. And not, I think they paid off for the last 2 films.
Yeah.
But all of the phase 2 and phase 1 products feel very like Iron Man like has sex, PTSD.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Alcoholism, crazy, right? Captain America's going through some stuff. And the only one that feels outright childish in that phase to me is like maybe Thor 2.
Yeah.
And then phase 3 is like it feels more like everybody can watch this thing except for like the last 2 Avengers movies. And then phase 4 has felt more like, oh, this is fun for the whole family, which is weird because it's a leap I have to make as like a viewer, a spectator.
I think they need to look at that first Guardians movie as like a blueprint for how to translate like family friendly content that also has like a depth of emotion for older audiences to connect with, because I feel like that was the first instance of movies like, oh, they're being very family friendly now, but there's also like there's so much insane like depth in that movie about abuse and survivors, and found family that like kids aren't going to pick up on, but I like the more I watch those movies, the more I love them, and I think I just feel like they need to continue with sort of that sort of it kind of reminds me of Pixar if you think about it, I think Pixar,
well, movies for everyone.
I think Pixar is sort of a gold standard for family friendly content where it's just like there's stuff for kids, there's also stuff for adults, and that's what you got to find. It's not Illumination that's like just stuff for kids,
See, Black Panther to me, Wakanda Forever didn't feel like a kids movie.
True. Yeah.
Or Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness with what it was relying on in terms of its relation to 80s and 90s iconography and horror and filming.
Yeah.
But also what it felt like to early superhero movies. That didn't feel like it. But then every other movie. Maybe it's every other movie.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It
means the Marvels.
It's like the Bond movies where it's like the odd ones or something. Like, is that how it works? The odd ones are like the bad ones?
No, that's Star Trek.
Star Trek, the odd ones are the bad ones. Okay. Is it just going to be like that now?
Yeah.
The odd ones, those are going to be the baby movies.
Okay, well, this bodes well for Guardians 3, but doesn't bode well for the Marvels.
That's fine. Literally, the only, like, MCU project I have serious stake in now is Guardians 3. I need this trilogy to, like, wrap up perfectly, or I am going to, like, be devastated. I need this to be the perfect goodbye to these characters. I need to be crying the whole time, or else I'm gonna be fucking upset. If it's gonna be a baby movie, I'm gonna be so mad. If they're gonna Love and Thunder me with this one, oh brother. But I don't think they're going to, because it's James Gunn and he loves these characters so much, and I know
it just seems like we're going through a cycle of, oh my god, this is like Marvel at its peak. It's going back to what's normal too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is one of the worst things or the most divisive things that they've ever produced. And that's the cycle we're going through with every product, every other, I hate saying it, but it's product, dude.
And
it's gotta be.
And let's be honest, that's most things. We got lucky with those first 3 phases where it was like an actual build up, where it's like, oh, things.
Well, there was no hype behind it. No, there was no hype until like 2017.
Yeah. There was no hype until...
And
probably.
Well, I mean, there was hype from us because we were big comic book fans, and we loved, like, I mean, we didn't love Ultron, but we love Ultron as a character, and we knew when they announced it at that Comic-Con that it was like, oh, that's so cool. But, like, people weren't like, Ultron, yeah! No, nobody was like that.
I think it really started with Civil War, was when people, like, got, like, when non-enthusiasts got, like, engaged with it. Because I remember that's when I started seeing the most, like, trailer reactions and stuff, from people who never really engaged with this stuff, and then it just sort of built up from there. But now we're just in the thing of just like, this is what comics are like today, where it's just like, yeah, there's gonna, like, Marvel fans don't read every single Marvel comic book that comes out every Wednesday. You pick and choose your characters. I mean, this is still
That's what I did.
yeah.
Captain America.
Yeah, I only read Ant-Man, Guardians. I read the Captain America run, and I didn't read Avengers. I read Power Man and Iron Fist. I thought that was really good. But like I said, I picked the ones that looked good to me, and I think that's just something that, that I feel like critics and audiences need to accept that, because I feel like I think critics have a role now, have a responsibility of, like, if you don't like these movies, why are you reviewing them? You know,
Right.
like I know there's a lot of critics going in knowing that they're not gonna like this movie, but they just have to for their job. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, like, oh, only people who like these movies should review them so it gets 100% Rotten Tomatoes. No, I feel like I feel like people who are, I feel like there should be even like level-headed people, open individuals who enjoy the medium, who enjoy the genre, you know, who not even enjoy, who are interested in the genre, you know, review these movies. And people, you know, those people will not like these movies, you know, some won't like them, some will, you know. I just feel like, you know, I just seeing some critics that are just like, I don't know, you know, I just feel like.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Where do you think this leads in terms of
Leads? I got to check with the guys at the lab. Got them running in shifts. Big Lebowski player.
I want to try to bring our conversation towards a conclusion.
Yeah,
and I want to ask you,
really long. Yeah.
How do you think this will affect, or do you think it will affect Marvel's plan going forward? Do you think the movies will start being not so successful, and like we'll see a reverse parabola where by the time we get to a new Avengers movie, it'll kind of be like the first Avengers movie in terms of hype, and then they'll just end the universe and do a reset? Or are we looking at a transitional period into a new form of genre taking up the blockbusters? Because currently they're the only thing propping up studios, because like the only movies, Avatar and Top Gun, are the only two non-superhero movies that are making money. Because like even it would took two bad Star Wars movies in a row.
Yeah.
And that kind of tanked Star Wars movies for a while. So it's just those two that made money.
This is a super tough question, because so many people's complaints at Phase 4 were like, oh, where is this going? You know? And now people's complaints with Quantumania were just like, oh, this is just movies just the sake to progress like this grander narrative. And it's not a movie, you know?
So where is this going?
I don't know. I think there's going to be a big focus after Secret Wars on Fantastic Four and X-Men. And I think they're just going to slowly start developing that, you know, bring back sequels to, you know, our newer characters like Shang-Chi, Eternals, you know, Moon Knight's probably going to get more seasons, probably going to be like Midnight Suns, Blade, or something like that, you know. But I think they're going to, I know there's a big focus now on quality over quantity. Like that has been a heavily enforced thing at Marvel, you know, since Bob Iger was put back as CEO, you know. So I think after Secret Wars, I think it will go a lot smaller scale and slowly build up again, and they're just gonna have to deal with people saying, oh, like these movies aren't going anywhere anymore, with just giving quality stories, you know.
Does this change Feige's path and what we've got currently planned, do you think? Like, do you think anything's changed from Quantumanium to Secret Wars?
No.
Or do you think it's set in stone and they're like, we're doing what we're doing?
I think the grand plan was set. That was set a long time ago, but I think specific things can always be changed. Because I mean, like they're even like they changed third act battle sequences, you know, like
that's true.
Once production ended, you know. It's just gonna be like that, but I think the plan is gonna stay the same, you know. And that's just like, it's either gonna be a great success, they're gonna have another Infinity Saga in their hands, or it's gonna be you know, it's just gonna be a stinker, and maybe the third saga will redeem them. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. I don't even know if there will be a third song.
You think you think they'll reboot?
Yes.
Damn, dude. That would be...
I think they'll reboot and then take time. The thing is like they're running out of stars to who want to be in these movies, I think. And not only that, it's I think fatigue is going to catch up to the general audiences at some point, and then they're going to stop while they're ahead. You know, they're not going to gamble their winnings away. You know, it's a miracle that a 23 film saga, essentially from Iron Man to Spider-Man Far From Home, was as cohesive and good as it was as a franchise. And the fact that I have a lot of hits in Phase 4 that I really like, but there's equally just as much that I'm like, it's a step above the blockbusters that we've been getting from other studios. Like, it's no Jurassic World Dominion.
So you think,
thank God,
you think there's gonna just be one Fantastic Four movie, and then Secret Wars happens, they reboot it again?
Even if it's good, even if it's a good movie, I'm very concerned that like people just won't care anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I'm a big Marvel fan.
I'm just saying,
but
there's
like,
a whole world they haven't even tapped into, which is X-Men. That there's a reason why those movies were a success on their own, because the world of X-Men feels like a completely different universe than the rest of the Marvel comics.
It's just differentiation between products, and I know we can believe now and trust people to know the difference between certain franchises. We were unsure of that, I think, before Endgame and No Way Home.
Yeah.
But I think people know there's a difference between the Fox X-Men and the Marvel Universe. And most people, I would say, or like the Spider-Man universes. Everybody knows they're different. Yeah. It's not a continuation. But for God's sake, it's a different actor every time.
Yeah.
But I just think in terms of audience interest and then what they're going to invest in, maybe I'm wrong. I'm just like, I'm very interested in the fact that it seems like it's not going away, that these movies are divisive, and then why would they want to invest in a divisive product rather than investing in something new that everybody likes?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Anyways, that's
before we end this and you talk about reboot, I want to recommend a comic that I just read that I think you would love it, Brandon, because you're a fan of Marvels, right? You read Marvels?
No.
Okay, now I'm gonna recommend two comics then. They're literally my two favorite Marvel comics of all time now. First one is Marvels, the famous Alex Ross. It depicts sort of a first-person view of the beginnings of the Marvel universe. From a photographer from the Daily Bugle's perspective. It's like this old guy who's lived through World War II. He saw the Golden Age heroes. He lives through the 60s. He sees like all the characters in their prime coming to be. It's such a good story. It's a lot like Kingdom Come, but it's...
I love that.
I know.
I love that.
So you got to read Marvels, and then you got to read the history of the Marvel universe. It's a fairly recent comic, but it literally starts from the Big Bang to the end of time and recaps. It's Franklin Richards, the son of Reed Richards and Sue Storm, because he is literally the most powerful person in the universe, and Galactus. They're the last two beings at the end of time. He's the being that can create and the being that can destroy. And Galactus and Franklin Richards' last request before the time ends and he creates a new universe is for Galactus to tell him everything that happened. So he starts from the very beginning, and they're able to cohesively weave every important Marvel story into an actual continuity. And it's not just like a series of summaries. It actually suits like a narrative, And it's
how many issues is it?
It's only
is it just a one big
only
issue?
6 issues. Only 6 issues. You can probably get it as a trade, and I want it. I want it. I don't even own my 2 favorite Marvel comics. I want to go buy them now. I want to go down to the House of Secrets in Burbank and buy Marvels and the history of the Marvel universe. I highly recommend people read that if they want to, get their Marvel on or anything. Read those comics. I think they're great.
Well, I can read it on Hoopla.
Hoopla. Those have comics? I thought it was just movies.
No, it's you can do books and stuff, ebooks. So
that's cool.
I'm gonna read it on Hoopla.
Go for it.
But Yeah, it's been a great show.
It's
I
been a
missed you,
fantastic show.
Stacked.
I miss having this. You know, guys, Brandon and I would always have these talks. Who is that? It's that bearded man.
Nothing.
Okay, Brandon and I would we'd literally have all these talks all the time when we were roommates, just sitting on the couch and just talking like this. So it was fun to finally put this to a recording. Hour 45 podcast. You know, we love it. We had a good time. I missed you, Brandon, and I can't wait to see you again on Wednesday when we hang out, and on Thursday when we record a new episode of Stacked.
I'm gonna be so busy.
Yeah, I got a busy week too. I gotta go to work almost every day this week down in Anaheim. So we love to see it.
All right.
Okay. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this episode of Stacked After Hours. Do you want to say anything? Say your goodbyes, Brandon.
Bye.